Minasan, konnichiwa, Zamurai Engineer desu. In this video, we will continue our discussion of webinar series NFPA 101 Life Safety Code. Currently, we are now on Module 2.1 Prescriptive Code. Let us start. I am your professor, Dr. A.P. Zantua. I am a government scholar of Japan for engineering. So I am a civil engineer, electrical engineer, mechanical engineer, and industrial engineer. So what is about module 2.1? Again, first we have to recall that life safety code addresses specific requirements on safety to life. We need to minimize danger to life. And in doing so, it also create an concern on mission continuity and property protection in both new construction and existing buildings. Now, this part composed of 5 code organization, core chapters, occupancies, annexes, and navigating the code. We are currently on the part wherein we say it is module 02, core chapters. What are the core chapters? We have prescriptive code, fundamentals. Number 2, special structures, building rehabilitation, and PBT building block. So we divide the code provision into or the core chapters into 4. So let us start with the prescriptive code fundamentals. So module 2.1. As we know, we have core chapters 1 to 11 and including chapter 43. So these are shown here. Chapter 1, administration. Chapter 6, classification of occupancy. Chapter 7, and so on, up to chapter 11, and including chapter 43 on this list. Now, let us one and one discuss each of these. So, first, we have to discuss the prescriptive based code requirements. So, that is what? Chapter 1 to 4, chapter 6 to 10. So those are the prescriptive based code requirement. Actually, most of these chapters are prescriptive based code requirements, but we for the purpose of explaining the totality of the code, step by step we are gaining ground in order to focus our attention little by little and focus it into a single requirement. So we started with the whole general description of the whole code. Now, per chapter basis. Administration, for example, chapter 1. Section 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, 1.6. So those are section numbers. So first, we are calling it chapter, then section. And smaller to that, smaller, so the whole code, chapters, section, smaller to section is paragraph, okay? And much smaller, subparagraph. So let us proceed. Administration, we have to discuss what? Scope, purpose, and application. These are the ingredients of what administration would direct us, focus our attention on. So, and after which you will notice we have equivalency. Even on the next section, we have units and formulas. Code is a detailed collection of standards, and because it is detailed as the units and formulas. Okay? The use of units and the use of formulas. And what format? In what system are we going to do it? So, for example, uh, there are two system of units. Okay? So, the code will specify those things. And lastly, we have enforcement. Okay? So, those are what we are going to expect in Chapter 1, Administration. How about Chapter 2? Reference publication. Those publications that are directly referenced by this current code. So the sections are 2.1 General, 2.2 NFPA publication, 2.3 Other publication. Okay? 2.4 References for extracts sections. Okay? So publication meaning the whole one. Extract meaning sections. Specific section. Okay? So, and also its own publication in NFPA and other publication. So, it is a collection. It is a body of knowledge getting from each and every relevant sources and collect it and make it an effective set of standards. So that is the tradition. What about Chapter 3? Definitions. We have three sections, 3.1 General, 3.2 NFPA Official Definition, and 3.3 General Definition. So we have a general and general definition. Take a look. There's a difference between general and general definition. General is the description, why we need this thing, why formatting and so on. Okay? But general definition is specific. General is a general. General definition is general but specific. No? Okay? The general in 3.3 is an adjective. Okay? The general in 3.1 is a noun. Okay? So 3.3 it is an adjective. It describes definition. So meaning the definition are specific, but it is general in a sense that it is to be used by what? A group of standards or certain standard. Okay. So, for example, uh, it is only used in NFPA 101 or one or two other standards. Okay. So anyway, there are talks that they will use same definition, but they cannot do that 100%. They cannot do it. There are standards that are specific to certain application that would define a word differently from another application. I am I am very aware of this because even on different engineering. Okay? For example, current. If I am talking to mechanical engineer, current is may mean differently. If I am talking to civil engineer, current may mean differently. If I am talking to electronics engineer, current means differently. If I am talking to electrical engineer, current may mean differently. So, uh, but the word current is a very general one. That's why it had to be defined for the purpose of using this word to specific uh, document. Okay. So for this document, this is the definition of this word. So that is what we mean by 3.1 and 3.2. Very important chapters. Always, much of the NFPA have the same chapters 1, 2, 3, and even chapter 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The contents may not be the same, but the arrangement. Almost always, every NFPA codes have chapters 1, administration, chapters 2, reference, chapter 3, definition, chapter 4, general. Okay? The contents may have different, but the arrangement is almost always the same. For example, general, chapter 4. There are 8 sections here. Goals, objectives, assumption. Those are very relevant point of discussion in order for every user of the code to to avoid confusion. Okay, so we are focused on the goals, objectives, and what are the assumptions. We can avoid confusion by talking about what are the assumptions that were set up before they could conclude this one. They could conclude this one. They have this paragraph. They have this section. So those are very relevant point of discussion. And 4.4, life safety compliance options. Okay? And 5, fundamental requirements. Fundamental requirements and 4.6, general requirements. What are the fundamental requirements? What are the general requirements? They complement each other. And we have what? Fire drills. 4.8, emergency action plan. Those are usually in every NFPA. And they are also in NFPA 101 Life Safety Code. And chapter 6, take note, we did not discuss chapter 5 because that is different. That is not prescriptive. So chapter 6, classification of occupancy and hazard of contents. There are 2 sections, occupancy, classification, and hazard of contents. Very specific. There are 2 sections, but this chapter is very long. It's one of the longest chapters. Okay? But there are only 2 sections. Also, a very useful chapter because usually we have to look back on the definition written on this chapter. We are usually going back and forth from other chapters and chapter 6. And one of the longest chapter also here is chapter 7 because it is where the life safety code started. Exit is the initial name of the code, building exit. Okay. So means of egress, there are several uh, chapters. Okay, so up to chapter 15. Okay, up to chapter 15, we have so many things to discuss on this chapter. Means of egress, very important, very long chapter. Okay, discharge from receipt, travel distances, arrangements, capacity, okay, illumination, emergency lighting, and so on. Markings, even the markings, the writings on the exit, the writing on the pathway, and there are code provision for that. Okay, those with high hazard content, okay, mechanical equipment rules, boiler, furnace rules, okay, elevators, and the likes. Okay, so what happened to those occupants inside the elevator when the fire incident happened? So there are provision for that. So let us go on to chapter 8, features of fire protection. What should be there for us to be able to say it is a fire protection uh, requirement? What have to be there? General construction and compartmentation is a very big feature of fire protection. Fire barriers, you can list up. Construction, compartmentation, fire barriers, smoke partitions, smoke barriers, vertical openings, okay? Special hazard protection, and inspection and testing of doors. Okay? There are several fire protection features. Okay? What about chapter 9? Building, service, and fire protection equipment. So, building service, meaning those utilities. Okay? For example, uh, heating, ventilating, and air conditioning. Those are building service. Okay? Plumbing, building service. Okay? So, electrical, building service. Mechanical, building service. So, in our country, we have sanitary, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, electronics. Those are building service. So, they have what? Engineering plans for each of them. For example, electrical plant, mechanical plant, plumbing plant, sanitary plant, electronics plant. So they are building service. Okay. And elevators, escalators, and conveyors. Not only elevators, but we have escalators for big buildings. Conveyors. Conveyors meaning there are what? Walkalators. Not just escalator and elevators, walkalators. Okay. Waste chutes, incinerators, and laundry chutes. So waste chutes, laundry chutes, incinerators, fire detection, fire alarm, and communication system. So fire detection alarm system. So this is very much particular with fire protection. So all in all, uh, the code has something to say about this. automatic sprinklers. So that is 9.7. 9.8, other automatic extinguishing equipment. Portable fire extinguisher. Portable. Those red cylinders that we usually see. Okay. Standpipe systems. Okay. So we'll tackle it one by one later on. Fire protection system, operating features, carbon monoxide, detection and warning equipment, special inspection test, risk analysis. So even risk analysis for mass notification system. So there are plentiful of engineering involvement in this chapter. What about chapter 10? Interior finish, contents and furnishings. So more on architectural and what? Building design or civil engineering. No? General, interior finish and contents, furnishing. Why? Because they are materials, and because they need to be there, they have to be fixed in a building, in an occupancy. They have something sort of an effect in producing or catching fire, for example, because each and every material have different degree of level of catching fire. There are light materials that could easily catch fire. There are high density materials that are very hard to burn, to catch fire. So it's a matter of selecting proper material for each and every element, interior, furnishing, and contents. The code still have something to say about this. And because of that, we are through with all the prescriptive fundamentals. That is fundamental. There are other chapters that are prescriptive, but they are other type of provision. These are fundamentals. Chapters 1 to 4, 6 to 10. Again, we would like to ask your help to like, share, and subscribe our free tutorial channel. Post an ad if you will for minimum sponsorship fee, peso fund or advocacy. And again, this is Dr. EP, preaching engineering for nation building.